All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Erasmus Expeditions. This has been a very busy week for the channel. We started off Sunday with a installment in my Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition campaign called Beneath the Banner's Shadow. And Wednesday night, I kicked off a brand new campaign set in a new world of momentum. This one is called Whispers and Fragments. I have a player from each one of those campaigns coming together tonight to end the week, or at least the weekdays, with the fourth match of our Highlander tournament using the Reflections game system, which is in turn based upon a single moment by Tobie Abad. This is going to be the end of the first heat of this tournament, and the winner from this will go on as a finalist to the second heat. And then from there, we'll have to see who kind of wins the whole thing. This is set in the Highlander universe, as it was said. If you don't know what the Highlander universe is, welcome, I guess. Hopefully you won't be too confused. If not, then welcome back. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by two players that I have frequently in my games, who I consider not only fantastic players, but also pretty dear friends. So I'm going to pass it over to them to let them do their introductions before we get everything started, and they do their best to try to kill each other. So first up, we have Baron.
That is the ultimate goal, I suppose. Yeah, you heard it now, Dodie. I'm coming for your head in real life. I'm just kidding. I'm Baron. I run the channel Rolling with Disadvantage. You can find some live plays that I've put up. A couple campaigns going on right now. You can catch me in a couple of my good DM friends games. I'm in Myth and Gears, Karen Davies, Genesis Pirates game. That's a whole hell of a lot of fun, and Jeremy has me stick around for comic relief, I suppose. But I mean, I guess tonight we're gonna see who can be the best. I don't know.
I love the enthusiasm, the passion that you have, Baron. It's infectious. Thank you so much. No, in all honesty, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on the channel. You and I jive really well together, so I'm looking forward. Not that I'm going to be overly involved in this game, because I'm just going to be the arbiter. I'm going to kind of sit back, introduce the prompts for the separate scenes, and then be here just in case you two start bickering at each other about whether or not you achieved your objective in the scene or not. So, and I'm also here for introductions, I suppose, whatever that means. Next up, we have Jeff.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Jeff. I have a YouTube channel and Counterbalance, and yeah, Baron, it's on. Next AtCon, bring your swords. We're dueling to the death in real life. So be ready for that. Someone will record that and put it on YouTube, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm super excited for this. As Jeremy has said, I'm here quite a lot. Starting campaign number 3, which is super awesome. If you missed that session 1, absolutely go check it out. It was an absolute pleasure to be a part of. And hopefully tonight will be just as interesting in a different way. I've never actually played Reflections at all before. I've seen a lot of it, and I've kind of read through it a lot. But this will be my first time actually being a part of the system. So no pressure in the tournament of legends here to do well. But we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure to have you on. Yeah, Reflections is a really strange system. It's very, very simple. It doesn't seem like there would be very much that it would be capable of doing. But thus far, it has proved very, very effective at creating some really interesting stories in the first 3 matches. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys are able to do with it. Language, yes. If you are new to my channel, I'm not sure exactly what brought you to this particular video, but welcome. However, this is an adult game. I am an adult, even though I may not behave as one most of the time. My players are also adults, so the language will likely turn adult, as well as some of the topics. is going to get mature. We're talking about a game where people are cutting each other's heads off. So that was your first warning. If that's the kind of thing that bothers you, then yeah, goodbye. Thank you very much. If not, then stick around because it's going to get messy. All right. Do you guys have any questions at all before we start?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Indeed it is. Much like decapitation. I'm just kidding. I've never been around that.
I think you may be misinterpreting some information that you've received.
I'm just going off of, what I've seen on TV movies. All right. So, there's only really 3 rules. I'll go over them very quickly. There's the rule of action, which means that if somebody kind of speaks it into existence, then the other player can't undo it. You basically have to just kind of invent a way that it could still be true that may not be as first. That sentence just blew up in my face. So, yeah, you basically just can't say, no, that didn't happen. You have to try to figure out a way to explain it. The second rule is one player cannot force the other to take an action. You can have stuff happen to them. You cannot have them do something. The third rule is that players cannot die until the final duel. Now, obviously, because you're Immortals, this one is a little fuzzy. You just can't officially die until the very end. We're going to play through... We're going to do a prologue first, and we're going to play through 5 scenes that are kind of a flashback. And the 5th scene will lead directly into the final conflict. So I will have a little bit here to read to introduce us. And then we'll go to the prologue. You guys can decide amongst yourselves who will be player 1, who will be player 2. There's absolutely no benefit either way. So it does not matter. Okay. Through each of the scenes, you will determine an objective before we go into the scene. Based on whether or not you achieve your objective, you will earn dice. If you do not achieve your objective, then you will likely earn hatred dice. Those are 2 separate pools of D6s. At the very, very end, those will get rolled and will determine who wins, effectively. So have your D6s ready. All right.
I'm going to go first.
Okay, excellent.
Ugh.
Hold on. Here we go.
Yep.
You're good. You're good. You're eager. I like it. All right. From the dawn of time, we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives. In the days before memory, there were the Immortals. We were with you then, and we are with you now. Throughout the history of men, there has been a secret war waged by powerful beings known as the Immortals. Most of these beings live out normal lives with no knowledge of their true nature, their true power. But each of them carries within themselves the seed of their immortality, which is only triggered upon death by unnatural and violent causes. It is only when they experience this first death that they become immortal. Immortals can only be truly killed by decapitation. When one immortal decapitates another, the winner of their battle receives a transfer of power from the deceased. This transfer of knowledge and experience is called the Quickening. Eventually, all the Immortals must cross blades and do battle until there is only one left alive. The survivor will receive the prize, which enables its winner to gain unlimited knowledge of the universe. In the end, there can be only one. We begin with the prologue. The prologue sequence in Reflections is stated at the beginning of the game and at the finale. It starts with both Immortals facing each other, ready to have their final duel and recounting the events that brought them to this moment. Each player will read aloud the first part of the statement, then give their answer immediately following. This call and response is how the two players set the scene for the upcoming story. So when you're ready.
Oh, man. All right. Our paths crossed when you actually I can't say that he had done something, can I? Our paths crossed when the feudal lords of Japan waged war.
All right. Now we stand upon the shores of the New World.
Sorry, I'm trying to write this down real quick. I remember when you were someone I looked to with trust.
This feud started when you let my son die.
My name is Shinji Wakamura, and I'm here for your head.
My name is Sir John Bennett, and the prize will be mine.
There can be are you at the same time? How do you count that off? There can be only one.
There can be only one. Nailed it.
Works perfectly. All right, so we have Sir John Bennett. Baron, I'm definitely going to need you to spell yours if you would, please.
Yeah. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you. Okay. Excellent. This already sounds like it's going to be fantastic. There is one minor note I put up in the chat for you, Jeff. Technically speaking, Immortals are incapable of having children. But
well, it was never said that it was his biological child.
Exactly. That's kind
Yep,
of the
I
word.
was going to say the same thing.
That's perfect for me.
I had faith in you, Jeff.
Hey, it's not you guys versus me in this.
It is now.
Great.
What do you say we team up here?
Who do you think?
All right.
Watch out, Jeremy. We're coming for you next.
I'm ready. All right. You guys have your sheets ready and everything? I guess so, since you just read the prologue. The first scene is called The First Death. This is the time you first met. You did not know each other before, but one of you experienced their first death, and somehow you found one another. You may not have trusted each other at first, but you earned that trust. Perhaps you parted afterward for decades or even centuries, but your fates were linked forever from this moment. Also, think about who you are and in what period of history this takes place. Perhaps one of you became the first teacher to the other, imparting the oral traditions and rules of being an immortal. This scene should be about learning what it is to be an immortal. So if you both would look over the list of objectives that are possible in this scene, choose one of them secretly and send it to me in our chat. Once I have both of those, you are free to kick things off. Okay. Baron, I got yours.
You want to start this one, Jeff, or
we
can roll for it if you want, since there's
still,
rolling in this.
Yeah, that's fair. Give me 1 second here. I'm still picking objective.
in the meantime, thank you everybody for tuning in. We've got quite an audience out there, and it makes me really, really happy. I hope everybody's week was all right. Got some cool shit you're doing this weekend. Let's see, who we got? Karen, Jason, D'Amico, Dave, Keel. Very nice. Okay, that sounded like the buzzer. Sweet. I have both objectives. You gentlemen are free and clear.
Way. So we find ourselves on kind of like the remnants of a battlefield. There's scattered, feudal samurai. Most of them are either, cleaved by the slashing power of a katana, or those that have failed their lords, have committed seppuku. There is the winning side kind of not retreating, but kind of taking back to recoup. And they are the side that have aligned with the outside trading powers. So like, I think it was like Sweden or something that came to, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Nonetheless, some sort of Westerner, because that was kind of directly responsible to this end of a period. So yes, Dutch. So it's kind of, the crows circling overhead. It's a gray overcast sky. A probably once beautiful green hill is now stained with red. I mean, I'm probably somewhere in this pile of dead bodies. I think that maybe this was my first death. Maybe I'm struggling from the carnage.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm one of the people who have kind of like not lingered, but as people on the side of the foreign trading powers are fleeing, I think I'm one of the later people to flee, having kind of come across as a foreigner to assist over on this side. But as I'm moving to escape with the rest of my routed friends, I think that's when I see stirring amidst the pile of corpses, someone who had taken injury but is not yet dead. And I think I can't help but be drawn towards this chance at life, either a foe that needs to be vanquished before I run off, or perhaps a friend who I can bring to safety, someone who can help me regroup. And I'll catch this movement, brow will kind of furrow, and I'll begin moving towards it.
I think I am unaware of your presence at the moment. Like, I'm probably under like two guys that had fell on top of me. I think I may have died shamefully. Like, turned to run and these guys cut me down, but somehow they were killed and fell on top of me. So I think I'm kind of like going through some culture shock of my own. I just was buried in my own shame. I've survived. I'm clawing my way out, digging grooves in the dirt with my fingers, trying to get away from this. I probably crawled up and not even so much as looking around, but went to maybe even run towards you and not realize it. Like, I'm looked back at the body still.
Yeah, as I see someone stir, I'll like reach behind and pull out my bow, a Western made bow, not a Yumi, and kind of reaching down towards the quiver, having an arrow knocked just in case this is an enemy. And I would try to like scan quickly for whatever banner you might be wearing, if it's a symbol of an allied or an enemy force or not.
I'm going to say I was probably an enemy. Dressed as an enemy at the very least.
Yeah, seeing you run in my direction, but not looking in my direction, I'll yell out a shout of no particular, just a you, and I kind of bringing the bow up to bear towards you in a more ready position.
I think I would, jump to startle and put my hands up and maybe beginning in Japanese, but quickly switching to like a very broken, like observed knowledge of English or Dutch or whatever language we're speaking. No, please, please, please. I just want to live.
Yeah, I think there's this awkward moment where like neither of us actually speak Dutch, but it's the only possible like median language that we have. But we just managed to barely make it work enough to communicate. Stop. You have any weapons?
I don't think I've actually checked myself to see if I have any weapons. I don't think I do.
And as you get a little bit closer, I think that's when I notice that like whatever wound you've taken is like very substantial, like nonsensically substantial.
Yeah, there's probably like maybe a hole in the front of my armor from where I was like ran through or something.
Approach slowly.
Approaching. Ooh, you fight for the Imperials then, or the foreign trade investors, or I guess I wouldn't say these multi-syllable words very clearly or if at all, but to
Yes, I come from the West as an assistant. That's quite the stab wound you've taken there.
oh
You'd be
this
dead.
no, I am great samurai, one of best.
Yeah, like my head will kind of like cock a little bit to the side. Yeah, well, you died, so I'm not sure about the best. But you should be dead at the very least. I think there's that kind of like feeling in his gut that he gets suddenly and kind of putting everything together. You need to come with me. There's something that we need to talk about.
Where are you taking me? What do we need to talk about?
You may be from here in this place, but you are of a different sort than most people. Not just here, anywhere. And I'll kind of like approach even closer and kind of like pat around your armor where that stab wound is. You do not still stand here by chance, by happenstance, by fortune. That stab wound should have killed you. In fact, in a way, it did.
I think I at least am beginning to understand what you're trying to tell me. I suppose I don't know how else I would be standing here.
There are people, few, but powerful people. They say they can't be killed except by very specific means. That some fate keeps them moving on when any other man would be dead.
Are
We're
these men?
called Immortals.
Are these immortals rich, wealthy?
Some are, I'm sure. Some go about their own business, live their own lives. Immortals are as varied as any other sort of people. In a way, we're still people. In a way, we're not.
I did not get your name.
They call me Sir John Bennett. I'm from a far place west called England.
I think I would be maybe... I probably still have my hands up. I'm sure you probably still have your bow trained on me. Well, if it is as you say, kind of maybe starting to circle, then I should have no reason to fear you right now.
Fear, no. In fact, essentially the opposite. Hope. You've been dishonored here, even if you return in such miraculous circumstances as would be from your injury. Your people will not accept you here any longer. But there are other people who can help you. Who can help you learn to be what you truly are. Something greater.
You'll have to take me away from Japan.
Yes, I have somewhere that we can go. Far west. I know some other people. I can send you there if you're willing to go on this. If you're willing to leave, there's so much more you could be.
He's actually laughing himself. Like, this sounds like how you say myth, and I would like leap for maybe a sword on the ground.
Yeah, when he sees you doing that, he would just like put his arms out, and even kind of like gesture like towards his chest, and just like allow you.
I don't think I would go all the way to kill you. I'm not in a position to do that. So I have this katana.
If you need proof, then surely, what man would stake his life on lies?
I'd probably be taken aback by that. Foreigners. I would pick up the scabbard, the sheath, put the katana away. I cannot go back to town. I will need a disguise.
I have contacts, many people in Japan and in other places. I can get you out of here, teach you, show you what lies beyond your knowledge, the greater things that are here, greater purpose and greater power. They can be yours, like they've been mine.
Okay. Do you have something I can disguise myself with? To know that these contacts that I am with you.
I will give them a sign. And he would kind of like ruffle through. And he would pull out, I think it's like some sort of insignia, like a British insignia, that he carries as part of his knighthood. And he would kind of hold it out to you and place it in your hand. If you bring this to them, they will accept you. They will know that you came from me. that you are destined for more than death or slavery or whatever else might happen to survivors.
Very well. Sir John Bennett. I suppose it is only right that I tell you my name. I'm Wakamura is my family name. No. I am just Shinji. I will go with you.
All right, Shinji, then. Perhaps I'll see you out in the west. We have much to talk about there.
Before we separate, my katana is like a standard issue, there is no standard issue. That has probably upset some katana forge masters somewhere in the world pretty bad. This is a the handle is probably a gold with maybe like black lace stitched up the handle. The handguard itself is maybe like a hard iron, just a cold gray. And before I sheathed it, you could see that the blade was definitely done by some sort of master of the craft, folded to perfection, though rather ordinary, I would say. Can I name it? Can this sword have a name? This is shame.
And I think to close off in the same manner, John would have at his side. You wouldn't have seen it unsheathed in that encounter. An English longsword. Perhaps in contrast to the plainness of your katana, his is like the handle of it and the pommel are very ornate. There's a section kind of engraved into the bottom of his knightly crest. Two crossed lines with a lion mane behind it. His sword, glory.
All right. Well, that sounds like a wrap for the first scene.
That was probably the cleverest fucking name you could have came up with. I'm impressed.
That's very good. Very counter to one another. All right. So, if both of you would reveal what your chosen objective was and let us know if you feel like you accomplished it or not.
Convince your rival to go on a long journey with you.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
worked pretty well.
Yeah. I had to see. Yep. Not even gonna argue that one. You got me. Mine was get your rival to give you something of personal effect.
I would say both of you managed to achieve those things handily. So, I have 3 dice for Shinji and 4 dice for Sir John. By my count. Cool. If you guys are ready, then we will go ahead and roll right into scene number 2. Yeah, good deal.
Let's do it.
The second scene is called Strength in Numbers. Immortal duels are always one-on-one. Interference is forbidden, even on behalf of a friend or lover. But the Quickening leaves an immortal weak and nearly defenseless. For this reason, many travel together in pairs, so that should one of them fall to a challenger, the second can take immediate revenge. This is usually enough to discourage many immortals from issuing challenges. For a time, you swore your sword to one another, to take revenge on any challenger that may succeed where your friend failed. In this scene, you should each establish the trust that your current relationship is built upon. Once again, if you would please look over the objectives available for this scene, Send me your beautiful choices. And then when I have them both, you can begin. While we are waiting on those to roll in, we are going to be having our next heat begin this coming month in December. I think the date is the 16th of December. I think that will be the next game, and that is going to be between Jason Smith and Alan Holloway. Oh, by the way, spoilers if you haven't watched those. So yeah, it sounds like I got the dings. Let me double check.
Give me 1 second.
Sure enough. Baddest Shogun in Harlem. Sure enough.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm dating myself. Sorry. Bruce Leroy. If you guys haven't seen The Last Shogun in Harlem, or no, The Last Dragon is what it's called. I highly recommend it. You might need to be inebriated to make it all the way through it.
Way of life, really.
All right, I have both of them, so whenever you gentlemen are ready, fight!
I think at this point, quite some time later, no longer in Japan, but outside of in the West. I think we have made it to England actually at this point. And we're far outside of any like major civilization. I've been kind of wandering for a little bit, using the time to work with each other, practice, to speak, get more acquainted with each other.
If we are in the wilderness of I don't know if it's called Great Britain at this time or if it's like the king, whatever. I think we are far enough into the country that like maybe we have actually stumbled on like a ring of dolmens or like ancient standing stones. They're probably like covered in moss, like a large, granite or whatever they're made out of. It's very like. You almost feel like we just probably stepped into a region of being that we don't belong in as humans. Like I know being from Japan and everything has a spirit associated with it. My take on this is probably, about as close to an acid trip in this time period as it gets. I think I've maybe got my hands on one of the stones, kind of brushing away some of the moss. Sir Bennett, it is insane to think of the expanses of history that go by that really don't mean so much once you don't have to worry about it.
Yes, when entire civilizations, people can rise and fall, you can be there to see the entirety of it. Gives you a different perspective on the world, what it means to live as a person. All these things that people fight for them, so short-lived. They rarely see the consequences, what burden they put on the people that follow, what ways they help. But we are here. We see it all. the good and the bad of it.
He kind of exhales heavily, his shoulders slump, his hands still resting, his head kind of down. Do you ever get bored? I suppose I've never asked you how long you've been alive.
Oh, I'm not so old. Not nearly so old as some. It's been nearly 200 years for me.
200 years. I don't know about you. Could this be like maybe 10, 15 years after our? I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think that period in Japanese history was like the 1800s, I think. So sometime after that, maybe not roaring 1900s yet, but I suppose. Oh.
We find ways to keep busy, I suppose. There are always interesting things happening, and there's a temptation. Once you start getting past a certain point, you become used to what you are. It's easy to become detached, lose sight of that feeling of being human, of the urgency of everything. But you must not let that happen.
I think maybe at this time we hear like what maybe was drowned out originally by like the breeze, but our own senses have picked up. There is like a small skirmish going by, maybe like up and over this hill we're standing next to. Like we can now kind of hear the din of battle. You know, there's probably not a whole lot of like brigand groups. Maybe this is one of the last ones. Like maybe we've heard of it. Maybe that's why we're out here. We've heard of this bandit leader who's been raiding the countryside of livestock and granaries, etc., etc. This guy's name is Baldur the Red. It's pretty self-explanatory why he's called the Red. He's not much for mercy.
Yeah, I think there's this moment where this like strange, tranquil, almost spiritual place that we found, these kind of rings of stones. There's that moment where that piece is broken by the sudden eruption of sound, and my sentence will kind of be cut off, and my head will turn immediately in the direction. Speaking of keeping responsibility, seems like there's something afoot over in that direction.
I will race you.
If you must.
I imagine you don't ever run fast uphill, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah, and then there's this, I think, like moment where we both kind of like look at each other like, did we really just like challenge each other to a race? And then it's like, oh, yep, we definitely did. And then we like just both start.
We were just speaking of being bored, and why not make things a little extra? So as we crest this hill, yeah, go ahead. As we crest this hill, it's probably like a local militia, a lot of farmers with like pitchforks, and this guy's got like guys in like mix match armors, most of them with weapons, I would imagine. They're probably winning overall.
Yeah, I think once you get out this far from civilization, the kind of standing enforcement of the monarchy is less out in these sorts of places than it would be if you were in a main city. which leaves the townspeople especially vulnerable to people willing to take advantage of them. Well, we didn't come all the way out here not to do something. People in need. While we live on, they do not. But we're responsible to help them. It is part of the burdens that it means to live as we do. Come.
I will probably ponder your words for a moment as you turn away, but I'm hot on your heels as we approach. I think Boldor kind of sticks out. He's probably like a head taller than everybody. This dude's a giant. You know, he probably like apprenticed as a smith at one point. So his like right arm is fucking stacked. And I think he probably is wielding like his handcrafted bastard sword with one hand. This guy's fucking scary.
Yeah,
Maybe.
as we kind of make it up over the hill and we see all this, Sir John will kind of look over towards you. Say, we need to make sure that we keep as many people alive as we can. Defense is a priority over offense. What do you think we should do?
Well, I am rather small compared to you Westerners, so perhaps I can get closer, maim him of sorts. And he kind of looks down at his sword with a grim expression. I'm not much for honor these days. Am I?
Perhaps not, but perhaps there is greater honor now than your previous life would have led you to believe. Cultures change. There's ideas of honor are different everywhere you go, to everyone you speak with.
So do you think this guy is that I think that I don't know if that's necessarily part of this scene, but could this guy be an immortal?
If you say he's immortal, he's immortal.
True, he's immortal, and he's terrifying. I think it's probably at this moment, it's kind of like a third sense. You've experienced it probably significantly more times than I have. Kind of flashing back to our moment there in the battlefield. This guy probably has scars that are like out proportionally large. That it's like, okay, this guy's seen some shit. You know more of fighting in these environments, I suppose. Do you have any plans yourself, perhaps?
I'm going to gather up what townspeople that we can, make sure the ones that are still alive, uninjured enough to move, get to safety. I'll put myself between these men and them, gather them to me.
So he's originally a Dane who raided here centuries ago. As you, I don't want to put words in your mouth. As we begin to enact our plan, I think maybe not I, in our retreat to regroup, we've kind of fled into a more wooded area, like a fen of some sorts, maybe not necessarily a swamp, but like lowland hills. It's maybe even began to like mist or sprinkle, so there's like a light fog on the parameters of our, we can see. We're using this to our advantage, pulling these people back. Maybe you or maybe I am slipping into the cover of trees or shrubs and cutting down a lone brigand at a time. And I think, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we've kind of got this system set up where like I'm like helping to like funnel fleeing townspeople away down one of these like forest fen paths. Uh and then as I kind of send them out and they become kind of exposed on this path to these brigands, like that's when they begin to move, and that's when you can kind of, well, have the option if you so desired to come out and basically ambush them. Would be the plan that I would kind of move. So I'm kind of like pushing people back. Run! If you follow this road, you can get to safety. Kind of interposing myself, sword between them and whoever might approach.
I think there may be, this is probably something we've talked about. I think Shinji has less of a value for these, like the peasantry. I've kind of had the luxury of getting sucked up into a way of life with this, this new realizations, maybe not coming for money back in Japan. So I've kind of got this haughtiness, I think is the word about me, where I understand your intent, but I don't necessarily believe in it fully myself. So with that being said, I'm not as protective of them, just kind of playing it smart, maybe not going off as, or maybe killing too many at the risk of the population. I think maybe this guy like corners me within your eyesight. I get pushed up against like a large boulder. That's kind of like in like maybe it's like an outcropping of rocks, I guess, in the middle of this boggy area, and I'm kind of got my back to it.
There's this instinctive moment where I see a now longtime friend in need, in potential danger, and that kind of like knightly instinct kicks in, and I go to like move forward with my sword, and then there's the remembrance. Duels against immortals are always one-on-one. And there's this moment where I'm kind of just like left helpless, like seeing you in a bad spot, like pinned up against the tree by this like huge man.
I think this is what I look over to you, and we both kind of, you know, your grim expression and like how you kind of like hard stopped. Maybe like I can see your foot sinking into the bog from your momentum, you know, pivoting. I kind of remember what you said. We were probably walking along like a cobblestone path in like this, you know, Gothic castle of a long time, you know, Celtic immortal or something. I have to fight this guy by myself. Jeremy, do you want to play that guy? I can sit here and narrate my my battle myself, but that's
yeah. Either way.
Yeah, join the fun. Be an immortal.
All right. This guy was Balor.
Baldur the Red, a large Danish man who has been in local legend for the better part of a century.
Excellent. Okay.
People claim to have killed him, but he shows up at the next fight, maiming the.
Yeah, I think before we kind of get into the prime of the duel between them here, John's just kind of give this like nod of reassurance, and just kind of hope that the training he's imparted to his friend will be enough to get him through this fight, and to be ready just in case that fight ends. But in the meantime, he'll like charge the rest of the brigands who may or may not even know that this guy is immortal alongside them, and will kind of seek to fend them off and make sure that other people are still defended and dealt with. But all the while, kind of glancing over his shoulder, back at the duel.
So yeah, I think Baldur is probably grinning from ear to ear underneath this incredibly large beard, and he seems to figure that he's got you, he's got you cornered, and there's not much you're going to be able to do about it. I think you can tell that you're an immortal. You can see it in his face
Yeah, I was gonna say we probably both have the same recognition here.
Yeah, you can feel the quickening like gathering within you ever since you've come into like visual sight lines of this guy, and it's only gotten stronger now that you're even closer. And I think he probably doesn't wield a sword at all. I think he actually probably wields an axe.
Yeah, sure. It's some crude hunk of steel that he's beaten.
Absolutely. Yeah, so he's got like this big bearded axe that he kind of is rears back with both hands and like swings down at you, um, maybe even cutting into your shoulder.
I'm
And
actually going to go as far to say is like this was a this guy's right-handed, so like a down to my right like hip, so like across from my left shoulder, you know what I mean? Like he's kind of swinging across my. I am going to feign like hard to my left, so this downward swipe actually like clips my ear and skins like a chunk of the flesh from my right bicep and like going towards my elbow, kind of flaying a large, slab of meat as I am barely getting out of the way. But I think with that, I'm going to upward swing and maybe try to like cut through your hand. So you can't wield this axe with two hands. Maybe cut into your arm at the wrist area.
yeah, he kind of was expecting the swipe to at least take you completely down to the ground, and when it doesn't, he's a little caught off guard as you bring your katana back up, and it severs his left hand, basically kind of in a line like this, leaving just his thumb still connected. And he looks down at it almost more in disappointment than in pain. He doesn't even make a sound, though.
And I think maybe at this, I'm trying to like sidestep and come down like with an over the head swing to maim his other arm as he's kind of looking distracted. This probably would have all been a solid motion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're able to bring it down and basically cut straight through like his clavicle down into probably at least an artery that would kill a normal man.
I don't know if this is actually, we've probably talked about this. This is probably an important thing to talk about is how to kill an immortal. This guy's neck is probably is like bigger than my thigh in comparison. So I have to get through his fucking neck to cut his head off. And I think that's probably what's stopping me the most. I need to slow you up a bit so you're not swinging this axe at me. So, I think back to I'm actually like a boy in a brief flashback where I'm like staring through the bushes at a samurai school where this like master is teaching how they like do a proper like horizontal slash or something of the sort. And yeah, is there anything that Sir John would like to say from the sidelines as I do this? I know I've been talking for a minute, so.
Yeah, I imagine that this moment as he like cuts down like a huge slash of his longsword down through another one of these brigands and like pushes a townsperson further down the path, almost sending them stumbling by pushing too hard, but just wanting to get them out of harm's way. And like deflect another axe from somebody else and like look back to see what's been happening so far. And he sees you still kind of like on your back, but like slashing upwards at him. And then like see some of the damage you've done to his arms. Just yell, "You have to get the head! It's the only thing that matters."
I would, in a panicked nod, turn back, and with your words and my interpretation of this master's teachings, I'm going to swing as hard as I can at the nape of this guy's neck, trying to cut through his spine first. And I think, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and cut you off here, Jeremy, but I think I at least get far enough in that it like stuns him long enough for me to finish cutting the way through. Probably takes about 3 slashes to get through it all. And as this guy like falls forward, just the mass of his body like pumping his blood out like a fucking fountain. His head rolls to the side, and I'm probably hit with the quickening, I believe. And in my stupor, I'm fighting haphazardly, but I make it back to you, and as winded and exhausted as possible. You know, you should give up them peasants. They'll only hold you back.
Yeah, I imagine at this point, with seeing their like incredibly fearsome leader killed, and not just killed, but killed in such a visceral and brutal way, the rest of the brigands will see that they've been bested, and will start to flee. Some last lingering ones being cut down by Sir Bennett as they go to run. And he'll just kind of like flick a bunch of blood off of his sword, wiping it on his side. We'll just look over. You're not willing to protect people who need it. What are you living for? You have a long time to live. A very, very long time to live. There's no purpose. There's no meaning to your actions. Not your own gain, but selfishness. You will not enjoy yourself for very long. Trust me. It's very boring after a time. We can do great things. We have much more power than any normal man is granted. Don't waste it. Please.
I think that's probably it. I like the like distance. You hear the stomps of, retreating brigands into the woods. The din of the the fearful peasantry. Going back to the quiet solitude of the like dolmen circle we were in before. I mean, obviously we're a ways away now, but that tranquil, maybe like a songbird begins to sing, and we fade out of there.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay. So if you gentlemen would now reveal your objectives for that scene and whether or not you feel like you achieved it.
Mine was to let you win a competition. And I tried to let you win the race, but it wasn't really outwardly said that you got there before me, so I don't think I did. Because I also fought the guy, so.
Yeah, I was thinking that's what it was, but you never actually resolved it, so I wasn't sure if it was a smoke screen or not.
I've been trying to. I put in a couple of them here and there. Like I threw one there at the end to try and throw you off.
Yeah, I picked convince your rival to give you some advice, which I think was kind of 50-50. Like I asked you what you thought we should do kind of to approach the situation. Just more kind of gauging your sense of strategy. I don't know if we want to rule that as advice or kind of prompting more than it is like genuinely asking for your own help. I'll leave that up to the ref.
Let's see. Convince your rival to give you some advice. Yeah, I mean, I think I think it qualifies.
Battle wisdom, I would say so.
Yeah. You specifically asked him, hey, what do you think we should do here?
Mm-hmm.
That makes good sense.
Alrighty, I'll take it.
All right, so that puts Sir John at 6 dice, if I'm not mistaken.
That is
and
correct.
Even though you did not achieve your objective, Baron, Shinji will earn the same amount of dice that Sir John did, but yes, as hatred dice. So that puts you at 3 normal dice and 2 hatred dice by my count.
The hatred starts.
It begins.
You could have saved me, John.
All right.
So if you don't mind me real quick, can I just
Absolutely.
I could use a quick bathroom break if we don't mind taking like 2 minutes. Just
I was actually going to ask whether we wanted to take it before the third scene or after. So before works perfectly fine with me.
How many scenes are there total? 4?
5 total.
5. Okay.
So we will come back. We'll do scene 3, 4, and 5, and then do the roll and how all of that turns out. So take a 5-10 minute break. Smoke them if you got them. Kiss your spouse. Refill your drink.
Spoilers! I have to let Jeff's son die at some point.
I mean, yeah.
You put that into play, not me. All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in so far. Stick around, and we'll see how twisted and turned about this gets before it's all said and done.
I'm also back. This is I'm gonna screen share a picture of me. This is what I imagine my character to look like. This is Shinji Wakamura, a disgraced samurai who has taken up with the English.
Yeah, I think it's pretty soon that we're gonna start getting to the good stuff.
It's been pretty solid so far. I mean,
Yeah.
I've only been able to play Reflections once, so
Yeah,
having
this
it,
is my first go at it, so I'm working through it here too.
it's there's very little framework for how and what you do,
Yeah.
as long as you accomplish your goal. So I think the first time I played it, I ended up trying to be like the good guy out to, do the right thing, and I got swept. It was like I had like 7 hatred die. Like, well, I was willing to, go the halfway, so I agreed to some things, and then I was like, "But will you do this for me?" And they're like, no.
Yeah, there is this kind of weird like game within the game of like how much are you going to like try to like
I want to
play the numbers, yeah. Because it's
I,
like some of them are very obvious of like if somebody like when you asked me to like give you something that they could identify you as like a friend.
I didn't have
Like
any
it's
other.
very obvious of like
Yeah,
either that's your genuine goal and you're just coming out with it, or you're using it to try to like fake
at
out.
that
Either way, like I have to make the decision. Like
with my
it makes
character,
sense to give it up here. So like, do I just let it happen, or do I try to find some objection hidden in there somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, if you are clever enough, you can be like, well, this functions as
It's like balancing like how much you want to like follow how the characters are playing out, like naturally, versus like how much do you want to like heavy-handedly push a character in a certain direction. And maybe it's more natural to say one thing, but you're gonna push the other because you want to deny their objective or fulfill your own or something. It's a weird dance.
But the nice thing is even that shapes how the relationship forms.
Yep.
I would almost, not to like critique the system itself while playing, but I would almost like to see like an additional option for each. Just because, like you say, they are kind of conversation starters or things you're trying to work to.
Well, I mean, they do have the open-ended choose your own objective. It's
right,
absolutely.
absolutely.
One die, so
that's true.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if you guys are ready to continue, then we will load up scene 3.
Let's do it.
Sweet. All right. The third scene is called The Bond is Broken. The players describe the moment when this conflict first began to manifest in earnest. This could be where one of you directly betrayed the other. Perhaps it was driven by jealousy or mistrust. Perhaps it was born simply out of a misunderstanding. Pay special attention to the circumstances leading up to the situation. Could there have been another choice? If yes, explore what that choice could have been. If there was no other choice, why is it that neither of you can now let it go? Once again, look over the objectives. Choose one that suits your needs, tickles your fancy. Send it over to me on the chat, and once I have both of those, you can begin. Looks like Carol has popped in. Hello, Carol. Jose has joined us. Jose's asking me when I'm going to start a Twitch channel. Man, I have even the foggiest idea of how to do that. I literally just watched a thing on Twitch last night. So for the first time. Okay, I've got Jeff's in. Okay. And that sounds like the other. Okay. Whenever you are ready.
So I think we have made it to the point in Britain's history during the Industrial Revolution-ish, like where like Peaky Blinders era, where we're all like really well dressed for the age, razor blades in our caps, you know, that kind of era. Everyone's got the black lung. I put it in. It's real now.
Yeah, I think at this point, Sir Bennett, who would now mostly just go by John Bennett, the Sir being less important, though still important, at least to the average everyday person. Not quite such an important distinction, at least in his own eyes. Would have gotten married, actually. Would have met somebody down on their luck, of course, him being the soft-hearted person that he is. Who had a very, very young child, almost newborn. And they would have just formed a connection, and they would eventually have been married. And he's basically acting as this child's father, even though he was not the person who conceived them.
Are we maybe at your home? Actually, I guess as how old is your child? Like newborn, you said?
I think at this point they're a couple years old. Probably toddler age, 3 to
Okay.
4.
Then we're gonna get dark in this one. Your child is missing.
All right.
And you and I probably haven't spoken to each other, probably not necessarily on bad terms. Just during like maybe there was an event where we ran into an immortal that maybe he didn't like attack us outright. He kind of exposed us, and we have since kind of split up to avoid detection. I'm kind of more recognizable here. Maybe I went abroad or something. I have returned on your request. So maybe we would, I guess, I'll let you decide where we are.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're in my home. It's not a mansion by or some grand estate, but it is quite sizable. It's not like a. It's in kind of the better area of the city, I think. And I'm kind of pacing back and forth anxiously, uh, kind of just tapping at the table every time I pass by it.
John, I have an idea of where the culprit is. We can go. We can handle the situation. I guess. I mean, I still don't understand why you care. This isn't your child. We can't have kids.
He would like tap on the table, and then you would like right as you say that, his hand just like stays there, and it'll just turn. Now is not the time to argue about ideals and humanity. My child is missing. Sure, biology or not aside. Are you so devoid of connection to anybody that you can't even understand a connection that somebody might have with their wife and their kid?
John, I understand an emotional connection. If I was human, we are immortal. You've been alive for 150 years longer than I have. You should know it well, more than well by now. These connections mean nothing. You and I, we are the same. We are warriors. We will fight. We cannot die. they're like bugs.
They're people, human beings. You were just like them once too. You not remember that fear, the joy, everything that life has? Just because you live
John,
twice as long as they do or more, you can't let that go. It's important. You've seen how some of these people, these immortals, can be. They're just power machines. That's all they want. They're fueled by nothing but their own ego. They'll kill anybody, do anything, or die. What life is that? What enjoyment can you be from living that kind of way? Connections are what keep us alive in a more important sense. They make eternity worth it. And I'm not giving that up.
I think maybe at some point I was like playing with China and like knocked it over at like the mention of eternity or life or something. I didn't know. You've become a fool in your time here in the blackness of London. It must be all the coal they're burning here to think that you'll stay here and find enjoyment when the world out there, that's the true beauty of this planet, not the things that crawl across it.
And tell me, what do you know of beauty?
I have
When was the
gone.
last time you even felt joy, understood happiness? Do you even know what these things are anymore?
I'm afraid I may have lost a lot more than my old life on that battlefield, but that does not mean I do not feel these things. Maybe just not the same as you. Our cultures are different. I have seen the Black Forest in Germany. I've gone to the vineyards in Greece. And you've stayed here and made a life with people that will die. I'm sorry, I shouldn't come into your home and lecture you. Your child is missing. We're not so.
Perhaps we can have philosophy class later. In the meantime, it's kind of like pushing towards the door already. What is it that you even want? What's your goal? What do you live for?
I'm here
What
to
drives
help.
you?
I'll help you. You are my friend. I have been an asshole as your friend. I should be here to help you. Let us go find your, and I would scowl, your son. And I guess, if you don't mind, I'll make this scene. We're in like it's a boat making, like, I don't know what it's called. It's where they make boats. There's like the huge warehouse where like on one side it would slide into the water, but it's like just the kind of skeleton of this boat. Probably ones that have been used to travel back and forth between Americas, which has already been born. So, shipyard. Yep, there we go.
Is this the place? You said you knew.
Yeah,
Who's hiding there?
this is where I found out they were hiding, and it's dark. The moon is fairly full. It's a cloudless night, perfect for being able to mildly see in the dark. The shadows, pitch black on the purples of the night. And we're kind of creeping through here, and I think maybe I accidentally kick a bucket. like a tar bucket or a resin bucket of some kind. And with that, maybe like a group of thugs, or actually, would you like to make the response?
Yeah, I think that is the like thud of this bucket kind of like clatters down on the cracked stone of the ground, like spilling this tar everywhere. Uh, John would immediately like turn with a scowl and like surprise that perhaps in this time you've lost some of the grace that accompanied your style. But before he can make any quip or remark to you about it, um, you would hear like calls of like you say patrolling goons in the area who would be drawn to the noise. It'd be this like hush, like, what was that? Did you hear that? Here, come with me. As like people begin to approach. And John would just like look over to you incredulously.
I think my hand would probably be. We probably got like some sort of wool like overcoats. I think maybe it's probably in my mind like early March, so real wet. Like there's probably like piles of snow, but it's not like they're in the way. These are just kind of making everything wet. Um, so you can kind of see like the oil in the water of the puddles as they mix, and you can see maybe like, I don't know, I think they're torches still at this point, or lanterns. They're probably lanterns. That makes more sense. They're like hooded lanterns are approaching. You can see the glow from around the corner. And I look, we look, and I've kind of pulled my coat back over my sword and my hands on the hilt. You ready to do what we need to?
When we find the immortal, he's mine.
Of course. Of course. And the din of these guys kind of turns a corner. It's probably like a portly dude with like a horseshoe haircut, and he's got like a shirt that's stained and ripped trousers. Like a tall string beanie guy, like a obnoxiously large Adam's apple and fucked up teeth. You can smell him from here. We're kind of a higher. Well, after you.
Yeah, I imagine there's this moment where these people like kind of turn the corner with their lanterns, and the light shines on the two of us. And there's this moment of like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" And then just like before any response can be made, there's a shing as the long sword is drawn, and just like an easy, almost effortless motion. One of them is just like, like cut right through the side.
The um the second guy, whoever was left, didn't have much of an opportunity to react, simply by like being dazed by the speed at which this man produced a long sword from a scabbard and dealt with someone, which probably hasn't happened here for at least 20, maybe 30 years. I don't know the exacts. And he is quickly dispatched by a few glints of steel in the moonlight. And the click of the guard kind of making contact with the sheath of the sword.
Yeah, and then I think like almost as quickly as this at least small burst of conflict started, it's already over. Like what could two normal, probably untrained men possibly do against someone who's been training for 300 years or who knows how long at this point that it's been? But even as they're dispatched, Bennett will still look over. People probably heard the screams. They'll know we're here. We need to move faster now. We have to drop the subtlety. And he'll begin like he'll go to run towards the shipyard.
think there's maybe like an overseer's room, like the shift overseer or whatever. You know, you're kind of your foreman. There's like that's probably like the only light kind of being emitted here in this shipyard is coming from like this lone window next to like the glowing outline of a door. It's probably up some steps. They're always up some steps. There's got to probably that it's probably obvious for both of us. Like, okay, the culprits are. Before we, I mean, I don't know if I've explained it to you yet, but I don't know what they're after. But they have to have something to want with you. Why would they kidnap your son?
Some immortals are more like you than me, seeking power over humanity, but further down the path that you might be going down, that I fear. Immortals gather power in other ways than humans do. We benefit from the same training. When you bring down an immortal, surely you felt it back then too. When you killed that man. The rush. The rush of it.
I'm like kind of flexing my hand, maybe looking at it. Yeah, it was invigorating. I suppose now is a good enough time to tell you, if any, I've seen a few more of these immortals. I've made contact with them all. Fought a few.
My guess is that this is simply a lure to get me out into the open. For them to have a shot at me, bring me down. One fewer in their path.
I agreed to let you fight him, but do be careful.
Of course, there's more than just me on the line.
And like before taking off, I would kind of stop you and remember, John, I am your friend.
If I get caught up in fighting this man, you have to go in. You have to find my son. Make sure that he's okay. You have to promise me.
Of course. I promise.
Good. Let's go.
We are I don't I guess I'm going to ask you, Jeff, do we want to go into this building or do you want to end the scene? I mean, we could roleplay it, but the implications of what has been said also proves that some ambiguity may have happened.
Yeah, I think I kind of like that it's open-ended, exactly how things play out.
I mean, we know the highlights of what happens.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I dig it. I like it. That was good.
Yeah, let's cut it there.
I actually forgot what my objective was. I got like really into it there in the beginning. I was like, oh shit, what am I supposed to do?
Well, why don't you guys reveal what they are, and we can discuss whether or not you achieved it.
Mine was get my rival to show how fundamentally different they are from me, which I think the opening scene almost perfectly demonstrated. It just kind of fell into my lap there.
Okay, good, because I had the same one.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say that
beginning conversation that was basically the entire scene was like arguing over the
fundamentals,
ethics of immortality.
Yeah, all of the psychology behind it. So I definitely think you both managed to accomplish that. So that'll be 2 dice to both of you.
That makes sense, because that was like right when I got like really into it. It was like, okay, this is my character. This is what I'm about.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right on.
All right, so for Shinji, I have 5 normal dice and 2 hatred dice. And then for Sir John, I have a total of 8 dice. Is that
Yep.
correct? Cool. All right, so moving right along here to scene number 4. Scene number 4 is titled, It Doesn't Have to Be This Way. There was a moment when forgiveness was an option, when one approached the other in an attempt to mend old wounds. Who sought this meeting? What event, historical or otherwise, brought it about? In this scene, you have been brought back together on friendly terms, and you remember better times. This is an attempt at making peace, though the sting of the past is still there. Through the scene, it should become apparent that things simply cannot be how they once were. You don't yet know when the time will come, but eventually this relationship will end in the only way it can for an immortal. What happens during this meeting to bring that conclusion even closer? Once again, please look over your objectives, select your choice, and shoot it on over to me. And while we are killing time for that to happen, I don't know what to talk about. Oh,
Talk about how
I don't know. Right there.
you have 2 intense campaigns
Yeah.
going on. I was sitting there, in the lobby of your momentum game, and you're like, "Oh, Baron's sick." And it's like, "Oh, that's embarrassing."
It's not embarrassing to get sick.
I am
It
weak.
happens.
I'm puny right now. I don't need this attention.
Okay, it looks like I have both. All right, I have both of them from you, gentlemen. So, when you're ready.
So I think at this point, we're not in England anymore. It's even further on. I think it's nearing the turn of the century at this point, into the 1900s. And we're in America, of all places. And I'll let you say exactly where.
Um, we are actually all the way in California. We somehow or another caught a lot of things on fire back in Britain. And we have actually taken the long way to America. We crossed through Europe, through Central Asia, maybe even stopped back in Japan for a while. Perhaps we got some money there. Actually, maybe not. I probably don't know the culture at all anymore. We travel through the western side of the country, and we're like prospectors, I want to say. Like maybe gold rush. I guess I don't even know time periods. I'm probably skewing things. We're for prospectors. Scrap the rest of it. We're on the gold rush.
Yeah, I think you made it out here a lot sooner than I did, though. And it's been relatively recently that I've made it into this area, kind of trying to settle exactly what I want for myself out here.
I think
When
I've
I heard that you
invited
were
you.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's been some time now since we've seen each other.
Yeah, definitely. Given the events of what happened the last time we seen each other, I figured you were probably down on your luck, and maybe I even sent you a nugget of gold or like gold bullion of some kind as like a measure of good faith. Like, I know things were bad last time. Come out here to the hills of whatever and come mine some gold. We'll get rich. We can begin planning to live forever.
And so I think there's this moment where like I've arrived in town, and I've kind of through process of asking some of the people around, have found out exactly where your estate here is. And I would approach up towards it apprehensively. And even once I arrive there, I kind of like lift up my hand to like knock and stop for a moment, considering if I even want to do this. There's this moment where I almost turn back around and just leave as if I never got your invitation at all. But something, I don't know what it is. I can't quite pin down what pushes my hand forwards, but something deep down does. And I can't help but
And this is like a very humble shack compared to like the more lavish things you've seen me grow accustomed to. Though I'm not like thin or gaunt by any means, I've been eating. You can tell I've had wealth from before that I've used to. I may look suspicious. It's sketchy out here, you know. A man's gold can get a man killed. So I imagine there's some sort of maybe peephole or like window that I can look through, and it's kind of like quick and it slams shut, and then it's like you wait a second and it opens again. God damn it, John Bennett.
yeah, you would immediately see that John is like, at least visually, much worse for wear compared to the last time you'd have seen him. Like his hair is just kind of grown, like just shaggy. His beard is all uneven and unshaven. Um, and kind of that look of optimism that you would have been used to seeing him with is kind of distant. It's not gone, but it seems to be far away. Like there's kind of a hollowness in his eyes.
You hear like the unlatch of like a bar, like a stock lock that goes over the door. You know, I've got a little bit of a coin to put into my living situation, so you hear that roll over and open up, and you see inside. You see it's sparsely furnished, but it's comfortable. I have a nice hearth. There's food in a pot on the stove, and there's a nice. Most of the stuff looks kind of handmade. God, come inside. I've got some stew in the pot. I was never much of a cook, but certainly looking you up and down. You could probably use something to eat. Hold on, I gotta make sure I don't start talking Western.
Yeah, John would just kind of slowly walk through the door, kind of eyeing at you as he watches, as if trying to like peer in past your eyes and into your mind. Well, he's not sure how much ground he's made on that front. It's been a while. Kind of look around. I trust that you've continued to do well for yourself.
I mean, it's pretty easy when you live forever to plan ahead a little bit and make a little money from it. Well, by all means, come in, make yourself at home. I'll pour you a bowl of soup or whatever I got on, like a rabbit or something.
Yeah, John would take a seat onto one of the bare bones chairs, kind of scooch it in a little bit closer to the table. And he'd go to like reach down for the bowl to like start eating, And then, like, right as his hand kind of touches the rim, he would just stop and look back up at you. All right, why am I here?
Look, I know. It's hard to say. You know what I'm trying to say. I owed you one. I don't know why you cared so much about that kid. But I wanted to make it up to you. So, and like going over to maybe like a space in the floor, like a loose board, pulls it up. There's a small, it's probably medium-sized little coin purse, oddly shaped. He pulls the drawstrings and pulls out a gold little nugget, throws it across the table to John. Because despite whatever you say about the cockroaches that infest this planet, you're motivated by this just as much as I am.
I'll see the gold like clatter across the table towards him, stopping like just before it falls off the edge, and I'll like reach down and pick it up and kind of eye it over. This is making it up to me.
Well, yeah. I'm a good friend.
Are you so far gone? Do you even understand what you're saying right now? My son is dead because of you, and you think you can just buy it back with money? That's not how life works.
You keep talking of life like you know what it means. This is what happened the last time we were together. We don't have a life anymore. Life determines an end at some point. We don't. You are an immortal. It's about time you started acting like a John. This doesn't have to be this way. They are not us, and we are not them. They let emotions cloud their judgment. We don't have to. We are the finer cogs in this great wheel. They are but spurs to be worn off. Why do you lower themselves? Why do you lower yourself to them? We are better. Won't you admit it that we are better?
I don't lower myself to them. You have it all wrong. You've always had it wrong. To live like them is to raise ourselves up. To remember that things matter. That our actions affect people and those things matter. That what we do passes on and lives on. That what we have now can be just as important as things that happen later. It's not stooping down. It's looking up. They understand how important our time is, how important our actions are, because they know that it will leave. To forget that is not to become ascended. It's to fall into the depths of hell. That's all that awaits you if you keep doing what you're doing. You're losing everything. You think that you're gaining. You think that you're becoming so strong, so powerful. You know nothing of power.
Shinji would take off his shirt, and it's kind of like a button-up flannel. And you see, of course, the large scar from where he was impaled when you first met him. But there are also now, I'm going to say 7. There are 7 very large, very distinct scars. There's one that you recognize. It's my shoulder, where the skin was flayed off. It's kind of a different color now. There's maybe a few stab wounds of various sizes through my torso. Maybe a like chunk of my arm is missing. John, I have met 8 other, what you would say, people. entities that matter to this world in my life, or my new life, rather. You're the only one whose wound doesn't show on the outside. Is there nothing good you can say about your time with me? Did you not learn anything from me as much as I've learned from you? There's opportunity out here. They're becoming aware. They notice things now. We can't get away with what we could before. We need to make plans, John. You need me for what I can do for you. They will die. We won't. It doesn't have to be this way.
You know, you keep saying that. They die. We don't. They die. They're bugs. They die. We live forever. But look at those scars. Who gave you those scars? Are they still here? Or are they gone?
John, they are with me now. I know what they know. I've seen what they've seen.
And yet with all this, you still know nothing. Pathetic.
I guess there is nothing I can say to you that will take back what you consider a loss. There will be a day when you either give me a scar or you will take one.
There's no pain you could give me that could match what you've already done.
Oh. There's a lot of things that have caused me pain in life, but waking up skewered to the men that ran me down as I escaped in cowardice, there is no greater pain. You know nothing of sacrifice. Honor is everything. I have not had a surname in over 100 years. No family. No nothing. And it is gladly by choice. There is no going back.
You can't claim offense at a self-inflicted crime. You say you have no family, nothing to bind you anywhere. That's you. You've done that. You can build new connections. You can make things matter again. Just because you refuse to doesn't mean you can sit here and complain about how dishonored you are, about how much pain you suffered. The pain is on your own hands.
Perhaps you are right.
If you don't start taking responsibility for that pain, it will haunt you either forever or until that head comes off your shoulders. Think carefully about how you choose to live. Because whether you die or not, it will stay with you.
Sooner than later, perhaps. I think you should leave.
I think you're right.
All right, so I did not accomplish my goal at all.
What was the objective?
Get my rival to say something admirable about me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much garbage, so
Hey, mine was get my rival to admit they did something wrong, which you were pretty unrelenting on yourself.
Yeah.
I think we both
Yep.
watched that one.
I probably should have looked at the other goals. Whatever. We are who we are. How many hatred
Yep.
do I get for that?
So, since neither one of you achieved your objective in the scene, both of you earn a single hatred die, which brings Shinji to 5 normal dice and 3 hatred dice by my count, and Sir John to 8 normal dice and 1 hatred dice.
Correct.
Cool. All right. So that was scene number 4. This is going to be our 5th and final scene. This scene will lead straight into the final moment. There won't be any time that passes between the end of this scene and the sword stroke that ends this relationship. This scene is called Who Wants to Live Forever? The final conflict emerges, and the rivalry boils over. Memories of the past mean nothing. The hope of peace is gone, and the only possible conclusion can be a final death. No longer friends or allies, you now stand across from an enemy. Where does the duel take place? Does it have special meaning to either of you? When setting this scene, you should reference the prologue of the story, as it should correspond with the "We Stand Upon" declaration. The setting should be inspired by the events that occurred in the last 4 scenes. All of the emotion, the passion, and hatred from the entire story culminates here. All key components should come together to form this scene. This is it. After the last sword strike, you have reached the end of the game. So for one last time, if you gentlemen would please go over the objectives available. Choose one, send it to me. Sounds like I've got one. Okay.
I don't have a whole lot of idea how I'm gonna do this, but
Okay.
So we have to be in I put the new world. What was the full on the edge of the new world, the beach of the new world?
The shores of the new world.
Okay. I'm gonna try and get creative with this, I guess. We are on Hawaii, in Hawaii. This is the newly acquired state by the United States. The legislation just went through, newest state to join the Union.
I was going to ask. So what does that make it? And Jeff just supplied the information.
Yeah, so I just Googled it. So it's August of 1959 at this point. So it's been quite a number of years.
Yeah, it's been a few years then. I think I am in a blue, like almost traditional samurai getup. I think it's not like resort quality, but I'm in a nicer cabana. I've probably done well to use my gold that I'd acquired to set myself up in a position where I didn't get, persecuted in World War II and lose everything. I managed to play my cards right, that I have sustained some wealth, and I'm now in Hawaii in a private location.
I am here as part of military service At this point, I'm a well-decorated member of the army, um, adorned in many different pins and medals of my service throughout World War II, showing deeds of great accomplishments, honor bestowed upon me. I've been here, sent here as part of this new acquisition by the United States to ensure that the transition of power into statehood is peaceful, amicable, and simple enough that everything flows smoothly.
So I think that we are. Do we want to be in my home again, or were you like maybe at some sort of like grill out, like large fire out by the beach? It's maybe this is a party. Like I'm from.
I think there's a celebration happening, but it's kind of this weird
I think there's some like
like
hardcore.
argumentative celebration because there's like a lot of the natives here did not want to become
Right. I was gonna say there's like a lot of
a
hardcore
state.
politicking
So there's
going on.
yeah, there's a lot of like people from the US who have come here who are celebrating, but there's also this kind of undertone of discontent from the people who already lived here who are not so eager to have their loss of their own land and culture being so eagerly celebrated by the what in their minds are foreign invaders.
What rank are you? Actually, I'm gonna. Actually, should I approach with that? I think I will. I maybe like a whiskey on ice in hand, and whatever your preferred drink that I've known you to like. I approach nonchalantly and hand it to you, not making eye contact, kind of staring at the party. I know. Okay. Let's just have a drink.
You,
Yeah.
why are you here?
Well, to be completely fair, I've been here.
And you just kind of like swish the drink around in the glass, not yet taking a sip of it.
I mean, you can't be poisoned. There's nothing to be worried about. And I would take a drink of mine.
I'm not worried about you poisoning me.
Of course not. Wouldn't be honorable. No. Glory, if you will.
Since when have you cared about glory or honor? You gave that up a long time ago. If you ever had it.
If I ever had it. So we see here all the delegates and all the reporters and all the bigwigs with cash that schmooze, make this all look like a popular event for everyone involved. And well, I'm sure you're aware of the status of things.
Oh, I'm very well aware. Unlike you, I've been quite busy working.
Oh, give me some credit. I haven't been idle by any means. What, did you serve in World War II? Who do you think funded you? Someone paid your paycheck. Might as well have been me.
You.
I told
Tell
you,
me.
planning. That's what I was going to do, and that's what I did.
And tell me, you were so eager to fund this war. Why weren't you out there? I believe it was you that said, Immortals are warriors, fighters. When was the last time you fought? When was the last time you did anything?
I've guess it's been a little while. Probably 35, 36. I did fight in World War I. Certainly less to lose in that fight. I had to lay low for the second one. You know, Japan being involved in the utter destruction of two of our major cities. I suppose I don't really hold too much attachment to my nationality. I haven't been home in upwards of a century.
Two cities in your homeland obliterated, and that's all the sentiment you can muster. I can't say I'm surprised.
What did they mean to you when you got the order to drop the bomb? You obviously don't seem to care so much. The only reason we even got involved is because they attacked us in our harbor. They sunk a ship. We were funding the war the whole time. Shit, I can even say that I may have sold weapons to the Nazis.
There'd be this like long, still silence, I think, when you say that.
Lean close, but don't tell anyone about that.
You know, I can understand. Losing the will to defend people. The need to live your own life, be your own man somewhere else, far away. I never thought that you would be someone who would outwardly do evil, who would willingly cause suffering, push harm upon people who didn't deserve it.
You know, at one point I thought you and I were alike, but we're different. Humans are the only thing on this planet that understand the concept of good and evil. Does a predatory animal feel bad for its kill that it uses to nourish itself? I'm simply taking a step back and giving these, I'm sorry, you don't like it when I say insects, these creatures the will to do what they want to do in the first place. Look at you. You're a decorated officer among them. I know I'm a warrior. Unfortunately, today's fights take place farther away. And unfortunately, getting blown apart isn't exactly a part of this process that I particularly enjoy.
I'm sure you're so scared of dying in into a bombshell. Ooh.
No, but radiation
feel.
is something else entirely. Times are changing.
There's only one place that you'd be scared of that, and that's back home, as if you would ever go there, as if you care.
I suppose. Well, you are at my house. I suppose if there's anything I could offer you.
You know, you talk so much. Ascendance, getting better, being further, being more evolved. But it's apt that you compare yourself to a beast, a predatory animal, brainless, spineless, honorless. You haven't become anything greater. You've fallen back. You're an embarrassment. Shameful. The more you live, the further down you go. I'm starting to think you did die on that battlefield all those years ago. Certainly haven't done anything worthwhile since then.
Oh, on the contrary, I've done quite a bit of living, of course. You can do a lot with money. I've indulged some vices and fantasies a little bit too harshly, perhaps, but that's all with the game. I mean, that's what happens when the livestock throw themselves upon you for your money. What was it like caring for a cow like it was a babe?
that cow, as you call it, had more to it, more to him, in potential, more in honor, more in meaning, in strength, real strength, than you ever had and ever will have. Talk of power. It's all a joke. A thing that you tell yourself to convince yourself that your pathetic existence is worth anything, but it's not. You talk condescendingly. It's not out of a place of any greater. It's desperation. Feel better. And you know you've lost everything. And you know you're empty. There's nothing left to you but these power games. You talk of livestock, people as if they're animals. You're the animal. I would stake any one of these people here being worth more than you ever have and ever will be.
I suppose I should come clean. I hired those thugs to kidnap your child. I figured it might break you of the sentimentality that you have for them, but apparently it only made it worse. And if it makes any difference, he squealed like a pig as the flames engulfed the building and him alive. So what do you intend to do about it?
There's a silence for a moment, and then the sound of cracking glass, and then as the drink glass that you gave to him is shattered in his hand. And he'll just kind of let it go after a moment. There's shards of ice and glass and liquor falling into the sand. And he'll just kind of like look around. He'll walk up to another officer, whisper something into his ear, and then walk back towards you. I think we should find somewhere else to talk.
I have a private beach just over the hill.
Perfect.
The moon. You tell me, does it look like it did that night? Back in Britain? London? I feel like we were walking at this point.
Yeah. Nothing will ever look like it looked that night.
The beach is kind of shadowed by the fire on the adjacent beach. You can see like the shadows of like the reeds and like sand grass that kind of separate the jungle from the beach. And as we pass through that, like you see the sand is almost like untouched by feet. Maybe it's like small prints from like island birds and shit like that. The occasional coconut. I will say that there is like a ring of stones kind of organized. Not necessarily like yin and yang, but like very zen. Like these are all like hand-picked stones. My character traveled the world, and he picked up a stone in all these various locales. And now that he's finished here in Hawaii, he's set these stones in a circle. And he walks to the far side. Well, I believe I asked you a question. What do you intend to do about it?
Why? What purpose does any of this serve? What do you actually gain from any of this? This person you've become, all this stuff, what does it give to you?
Satisfaction. Enjoyment.
Does it?
Absolutely. There's one constant thing I have in my life right now, and that's immortals and their presence around me and in the world and universe about me. And if there's one thing I can rely on, it's if I torture you, you will only endure it. So where do you break? What do I have to do to you to see on my level? What more? You have two options. Endure that torment, or face me now.
There's no pain that I could go through that could match what I've already felt. Nothing that you could do to me now that you haven't done 10 times over before. And yet, you tried to take me in to torture me. Couldn't get within 5 feet of me, or your head would be on the sand. So if you want to do any damage, you want to cause me pain, you want to break me, then come. Try. See what happens. See what all your money does for you.
I would cross this circle and stand about 4 feet in front of you. Hold on. This is what I look like. An arrogant. There's no bird. Ignore the bird. Wild hair, a wispy goatee. I mean, I'm wearing it casually, but it's a more ceremonial kind of garb for a samurai. I'm not wearing it with any kind of honor or pride. I'm kind of ragtag looking for as rich as I am.
Bennett will hold out his arms away from himself. I'm waiting. You said you were going to hurt me, break me. Well, what are you going to do?
I'm going to reach into my pocket, and I'm going to pull out a flare gun. And as I shoot into the sky, this red flare erupts, and you hear from the adjacent hill machine gun fire. As you see like the flashes of machine gun fire erupts on this other side of the hill. And you hear screams of like the women, maybe even men, as they die and run away from this scene as someone has kind of shot the party. I suppose I'm just going to have to kill everyone around you until you have no one left. And I'm just going to stare you right in the face.
John will just kind of let out a sigh and shake his head. Well, if you excuse me, then I have more important matters to attend to. He's going to turn his back on you, as if you're nothing, and start walking back towards where the gunfire is coming from. I have people to help.
I'll race you. And as the challenge of running through sand up this hill, I draw shame from its sheath, and I am actually running towards the nearest civilian running this way. And I cut him down in a fluid strike. Moving towards the next one.
As you move towards the next one, and go to cut them down, there's kind of this burst of sand as Bennett slides in between. And there's the clang of metal as he blocks your sword strike with his own. You have to get out of here! Run! He'll shout back to the person behind him, who in like terror will like fall back and like skid away on the sand. And then he'll like unlock his blade from yours and take a step back.
Do we want to start our duel?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's time.
Holy cow, I feel so bad. Oh my god.
Yeah, he became such a bastard like in the last
I had
two
one
scenes.
goal
It's
this
so
whole time. It was like,
oh my god.
okay,
All right.
I'll go first. My goal was to get him to draw his sword on me, and I literally was doing everything I fucking could. I was trying so hard.
Yeah.
My goal was also to get you to draw your sword on me, which I did. Our little game of chicken could only go so far.
I was like, oh my god, who's gonna do it? It's like both holding on.
All right. What hurtful things can I do to provoke this?
So what that's going to mean is, Jeff, you are going to get 2 additional dice.
Yep.
And Baron, you're going to earn 2 additional hatred dice. Okay, so by my count, that is 5 apiece for Shinji. And Sir John has 10 dice and 1 hatred dice.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So that brings us to the final moment. Both players will choose to either harness or release their hatred. You will recount the prologue, score your dice, and roll to win the duel as described in the text. No ties can occur in this setting. If the dice result is a tie, the duel continues, and the dice are rolled again. Repeat this until there is a winner of the duel. So, if you guys would like, I can go over how hatred dice work, so you can decide whether you want to harness them or not.
I know I am.
You could just, I'm not going to be harnessing them either way. I don't think.
Perfect. It sounds like you guys have a clear idea that of how you want to handle it anyways.
Jeff, do not use them.
I'm not going to. How exactly? Well, do we do all the prologuing and then the roll?
Correct.
And we just roll that many d6?
Yes. So what will happen is you'll recount the prologue, and then you'll roll all of the normal dice that you have. And you only are going to count the dice that has the highest value. So if you get like 3 5s, then you have 5s, and then 3 is the amount of 5s that you have. So like if Baron also gets 5s, but he only gets 2, then you would win. But if he gets 1 single 6, it would be any number of 5s that you have. That makes sense? So the value counts first, and then the amount counts.
Okay, so 1 6 would be like 10 5s.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Hatred dice, Baron, so that you are aware of how they work. You roll them afterwards. The highest hatred die value that you have becomes your new highest value. Even if you had higher dice values in your regular dice, you can no longer count those. You have to go with your highest hatred die. But you then pull all of the dice together. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So, when you guys are ready.
Our paths crossed on when the feudal lords of Japan were at war.
Now we stand upon the shores of the new world.
I remember when you were someone I looked to with trust.
Our feud started when you let my son die.
My name is Shinji Wakamura. I'm here for your head.
My name is Sir John Bennett. The prize will be mine. There can be only one.
The only one. I got 2 6s.
I also have 2 6s.
Baron, is that with your hatred dice figured in?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
Then how does that work?
So because it was a tie, you guys will re-roll. And this will continue until there is a clear winner.
So there's a victor.
Normally,
Hopefully this isn't like Eli and I's duel, because I've literally rolled the same thing as him like 5 times in a row.
Yeah, normally in reflections, if you both get the same thing, then you both kill one another. But that can't happen in this particular setup. So
fair enough.
Oh dear, not nearly as good. 2 4s.
2 6s.
That'll do it.
Okay. So between the two of you, you can decide how to describe this final scene.
I'm the bad guy. You might as well do it. Make it satisfying.
There's the initial clatter of swords as I intercept your strike, meant to cut down another civilian. A step back as we kind of understand what's just happened. That now the battle has officially begun. There's no turning back. There's no assistance. There's only 2 people left. And the sounds of machine gun, the screams that you would think would become filtered out from Bennett's focus as he zooms in on this duel, but he can't help but hear it all the entire time. As swords clash, sand is kicked up. And he'll just look. I've seen the damage that you've done. I was out there in Europe. Saw the bodies piled up with the weapons you sold. People fight with honor that you never knew, never have known since. For all the talk of power, you never had any. As cliche as it is, power comes from others, not from yourself. There's another clank as swords lock. And Bennett will like lean in close to the lock until they're like almost face to face with each other.
I think with like my quote unquote final words. Well, whoever dies here today will live with the other's deeds.
Could you even carry my deeds? Comprehend them? I'm not so sure you could.
I think with that, my sword drops as your swing comes across, and the shining steel of your long sword cleaves into the base of my neck. You're a strong guy. You hit me in one blow. It's not clean, not like movie. The face that grimaces from Shinji, locked forever in death, matches that of his soul. Hideous. Deformed.
As the body falls, the long sword will fall with it. As the head rolls up, the sword will clatter into the sand, like the blood mixing with it into this like crimson mud. And he'll just like look down at the body, kind of shake his head. I don't know if I can carry it either. To be fair. But I'll try. For them.
I think the smoke from this nearby fire, as well as the gun smoke, starts to mingle with these clouds as they roll in, and purple lightning starts to flash everywhere as the quickening overtakes Sir John. And that is match number 4. Well done, guys. Very, very well done.
Oh, I'm about to. I've been trying to quit smoking, but if there's anything that's made me want a cigarette, it's this fucking game.
It's intense, man. It's super intense. You guys nailed this, man. Yeah, it was. Go ahead.
I was nervous, and then I was like, okay, this is all right. And then I was like, okay, we're gonna get savage. Like, how could I hurt Jeff?
Really fucking cranked it to 11 there.
Like, I didn't know what to do. I had very few options.
That's the craziest thing, because like all 4 of these games, these matches have gone just they kind of start out in a kind of a similar way, and then they just fucking go all over the place, and it's always different, but it's always so good and riveting, just in a completely different facet. Oh man. Yeah, I'm gonna have some decompression after that. That was
right.
All right.
Heavy.
Yeah. What am I supposed to do now? I'm dead.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Well done, Jeff. Not to overdo it, but you certainly circumnavigated the conversations excellently, and I have been glad to be your first rival. So best of luck in the future.
Put on a fucking show of it yourself. Really made me work for it. Not even mechanically, but just emotionally. Just like
good. I mean, I like being the good guy. Good guy's fun. You know, it's not cookie cutter, but it's like I know I feel bad. I'm probably gonna drink a beer and like I want a cigarette. I want a cigarette so bad. Just man, excellent game. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Absolutely. Yeah, very, very sad that Caius had to bow out, but it was an unforeseen thing and totally understandable. So I'm glad that he did so with enough time that I could find a replacement player. And Baron, like, yeah, you absolutely nailed it.
Knocked it out of the park. A million times over.
So thank both of you guys for coming and being a part of this. I will let you guys do your outros, and then we'll put a pretty little bow on it and call it a night. So Jeff, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Jeff from Encounter Balance, and Jesus Christ, like my brain is like in a million pieces right now. Like it's weaves itself so well, like form like attachment to what's happening, like the system does, and the questions, especially the way that you've designed them and the scenes, where it's just like impossible not to like get wrapped up into the web that all this creates. And it was just an absolute blast to be a part of. Yeah, shout outs especially to Baron for stepping in last second to come in for Caius on that one and just absolutely obliterate it like he was gonna do it the whole time. It was an honor to play against Baron and an honor to be a part of this, and I'm super excited to see where the next ones go.
Me too, man. Absolutely. And yeah, like having you be a part of it was fantastic. And every time you're in a game of mine, you absolutely just nail it. You figure out what tact you're taking, and you just run with it. And it's always a joy to watch. So thank you. Next up, we have the man himself, Baron.
I mean, I wear my pants one leg at a time. So in heart of putting a bloody little bow on this thing, I'm Baron. I run the YouTube channel RWD Gaming. You guys have heard it 100 times if you watch any of Jeremy's videos. Yeah, super hopeful that I was able to provide what was necessary in replacement of Caius, who unfortunately couldn't make it. So, dude, truly congratulations, Jeff, because I have dropped to do lows tonight for the sake of hurting you. And I now have to deal with that today. So, here's to that. Congratulations, man. I really hope you win it because you're now carrying Shinji's darkness. So use that to your advantage. Carry it well.
We're all gonna need therapy by the end of this tournament. We're gonna have a lot of blood.
I'm honestly, I'm glad that I'm out of it now, so I can just watch. Like, I'm one of the souls on the sideline that's just watching. That's fine. I no longer have to worry. You get the gray hair, bro. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. And nobody has ever said that growth has to be upward.
Growth takes a lot of shapes and sizes.
That's right. Growth is growth, man. All right. Everybody, thank you very, very much for watching tonight. Thank you for anybody who may be tuning in the future, especially the far future. Man, how cool would that be? Hopefully Highlander's still around at that point. Anyways, it's been an absolute blast to have all 8 of these fantastic players duke it out a pair at a time in front of me just as much as the rest of the audience. It's been a really unique experience to be the facilitator of the game, the normally be called a GM, but just to sit here and just watch how everything happens. It's been really, really cool. And I think it's actually taught me a lot about doing so in a lot of my other games. A lot of practice with kind of just taking my hands off the wheel, like Tyler Durden, and just letting it go where it's going to go. It's been an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to see how it all ends up in the next heats and who's going to come out on top as the one. So, yeah, look for those things. Look for those games in the future, and yeah, stick around for everything else that happens on the channel. But until next time, may your dice roll high and your snacks always be within reach.